Rahubat, Rahubat. Welcome to the Horse Hour, the storytelling show that only tells true stories. Today, I want to talk about this book I read from the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, Right Knowledge Service, Our True Roots for the Lost, but Now Found. Talking about me. I was lost, now I'm found. So, and the teachings of the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, opened my eyes. So I was able to find myself, okay, and know my true history, my true roots, where I really come from, okay? Facts. That's what I like about the master teacher. Go by facts, okay? Not belief. Forget your feelings, what you believe, and your faith, okay? Why have faith when you can have facts? Okay. Why have belief when you can be in the knowing? Okay. It's better to know something and then to believe it. Okay. Because believing means you don't know. Okay. Do your research, find out the truth, find out the facts. When I was reading this book here, Our True Roots, the master teacher was talking about uh, marching, okay, about how these oppressors try to oppress you, and people were asking, you know, should we march? And the master teacher was saying that we're just making noise because they could give us something and take it back. He said that's all they can do. They'll give us something and they'll take it back. And when he said that, when I read that, it got me to thinking. I was like, yeah, that's right. Because remember, we used to have affirmative action. Okay. That was the only way I got my jobs. When I worked for the ambulance company and the fire department, that was the only way I was able to work. It didn't even matter that I finished at the top of my class when I went to the Daniel Freeman Paramedic School. It didn't even matter. Okay. So that's the story I'm going to tell. All right. How it didn't matter when they took away the affirmative action. I mean, because, hey, they were just not, if you were black, you can forget it. It didn't matter how smart you were, anything. Okay. I finished at the top of my class. Okay. They got an ambulance company right down the street, McCormick Ambulance. I only live a mile and a half away from the station. I'm sure to get in because they're hiring. If I'm not mistaken, it was about 12 people. They needed 12 people. Okay. And I finished at the top of the class. Okay. So my friend Matt, he finished at the top of the class too. And he was like, man, I'm going down, to McCormick Ambulance to fill out an application because they're hiring. Matt gets hired the same day. Okay. I get a call from McCormick Ambulance saying, hey, we got a recommendation from Matt. He said you finished at the top of your class. We would like for you to come fill out an application, and we want to hire you. We want to give you an opportunity to work here. I was like, cool. They was like, will you come down today to fill out the app? I said, I sure will. Yeah, I'll be there in an hour. Okay. So I go down there and I get there. And I say, yes, I came to fill out an application. And the lady goes, "We're not hiring." I said, "Excuse me?" She says, "We're not hiring." I said, "I thought you guys were hiring." She goes, "We're not hiring." I said, "Well, can I at least have an application?" She goes, "Sir, we are not hiring." I said, "Oh, okay. I wonder who called me then." So I go home. A couple of hours later, I get a call. "Mr. Green, we were wondering if you were coming down today. We were expecting you." I said, "I did come down there. You guys said you weren't hiring." She goes, "We're looking to hire at least 12 people." I said, "Okay, I'll come back down there." I go back down there. I said, "Yes, I came to pick up an application." The lady says, "We're not hiring." Again, I said, "Listen here, lady, you guys called me, okay?" And she goes, "Excuse me?" I said, "You called me. You guys said that Matt recommended me, and you guys called my house and asked me to come down here and fill out an application, and I'm here, okay? You just called me less than an hour ago." And she got this blank look on her face, like she saw a ghost. She didn't realize that just because Matt was white didn't mean that I was white, okay? They already had their quota, and their quota was they had to have at least two black people working so they can do work in the city. So if you had to have if you were working in an ambulance, if you have an ambulance company or whatever, you have to have permits to work in a city and a county. You have to follow their rules. And one of them was, they had the affirmative action. So for however so many people you had to have a certain amount, you had to have diversity. Okay. You couldn't just have 100% just white people. Okay. You had to have so many Latinos, so many blacks, so many women, so on and so forth. Okay. Theirs was two. They only had to have two black people. They had their two paramedics that was black. That was it. No one else was coming in. So I didn't get hired. About a year later, okay, a whole year later, I had my license and everything, went to school, graduate, going around looking for jobs. Okay. Going to every ambulance company. Boom, not getting hired. Okay. Going to all the ambulance companies, not getting hired. A year later, maybe a year and a half later, okay, um, I see the two guys that work there, the two brothers, okay, and I pulled up and I said, "Hey, man," I was in my regular car, and these two dudes was sitting in the parking lot at a one of these convenience stores, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "I put in the application and I didn't get hired." And he goes, "Oh man," he goes, "They only gonna hire two brothers at a time, like that." And he goes, "But me and my partner, we got hired at the fire department, and we're leaving next month. So next month," he goes, "they're gonna be scrambling to find some brothers to come work here." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Heck yeah." I was like, "Okay." He goes, "So I'm gonna call you when we leave. When me and my partner leave, I'm gonna give you a call, and you go the same day and you go fill out an application." I was like, "Okay." So he was, he kept his word. We kept in touch, and when he left, I went to go get an application. Soon as I walked through the door, okay, they didn't even read my application. "You're hired." Just like that. He didn't even, "You're hired. When can you start?" Just like that. Soon as I gave him the application, he didn't even look at it, didn't even read it. Just goes, you're hired. Then he goes, come on in. We can see if we can fit you for a uniform. That quick. Then he starts reading my application. It's like, oh, I see you know Captain Morgan from the Inglewood Fire Department. Me and him were buddies. I was like, what? I said, well, yeah, I used to be a firefighter explorer. He's like, oh, man. He's like, that's great. He's like, hey, do you still talk to Captain Morgan? I said, I see him all the time. And he goes, oh, man, next time you see Captain Morgan, you tell him, you tell him I said hello. And, you tell him to give me a call. I'm like, yeah, okay. But anyway, I got the job just like that. Walk in and you're hired. Okay. Next brother came in. I saw the next brother that was walking in, and I started laughing because I thought, ain't no way they finna hire this brother. Okay. Because she's coming to pick up an application, and he was dressed like he was going to a some kind of hip hop party. Okay. He had one of those the kid and play high top fades. I mean, I was like, I don't think they're gonna hire this brother. Bam, he walked in, you're hired. Okay, just like that. And it's like, wow. Okay, they hired him the same day too. All right, so they made a mistake because they were hiring on two different sides of the complex. Two different people were hiring. So while one side of the building was hiring, looking for the two black people, the other side was looking for a couple of brothers too, right? So they end up hiring too many. Okay, ain't that crazy? They end up hiring too many, right? Sent one brother down to Redondo Beach. Okay, that's where all the white boys would hang out, and that's where all the white boys work. Okay, they said the Redondo Beach Fire Department said, "You send another brother down here," and believe me, they didn't use the word brother. Okay, we're canceling your contract. They shipped that brother back to Inglewood. Okay, Inglewood was where the brothers worked. Okay, Inglewood and Gardena. That's it. We worked at the Inglewood station, the Gardena station. Leave the Redondo Beach station only for the white boys. That was it. Okay, they threatened to fire any of those guys that took off work because um, I would go cover the shift. Okay, so if somebody called in sick, I would be like, first one on the list. They said, you guys can't call off sick anymore. Okay? If you call off sick, you can't use anybody from the Gardena station or the Inglewood station. You got to use somebody from the Redondo station if you want to trade days, call in sick, all that kind of stuff. You can't trade shifts with nobody from Inglewood station or the Gardena station. It was like that. Okay. Yes. Okay. They was like really, really racist. But they were so racist. Okay. One time we had a call. We wasn't even the call actually happened right in front of us. Okay. We were in the shopping center. We were right in the parking lot of the shopping center, and it's kind of a busy intersection, and it was a traffic accident right there. Traffic accident happened right in front of us. Okay. Now we're sitting there looking crazy because the company didn't want us to respond because it was in the city of Redondo Beach. Okay. We're sitting right there in front, and they're telling us we can't respond to it. So people are coming, help them, help them, help them, help them. Why aren't you guys? We're just sitting there. They're like, why aren't you guys helping? I'm like, we can't. The company won't allow us to help. They called another ambulance company. Okay, we just sitting there waiting. We're just sitting there, well, watching, waiting for another unit to respond. Okay, so instead of us having that quick response time, less than a minute, okay, we could have had that 30-second response time. They waited 8 minutes. They waited 8 minutes. Okay, somebody could have been dying. Okay, 6 minutes with no oxygen to the brain, irreversible brain damage. Okay, we was right there. 30 seconds. Nobody's dying. Nobody's, we right there to save a life. And they don't want to use us because of the color of our skin. Okay. So anyway, yeah, that's what happened. They took the affirmative action back, and it was really tough to get a job. It didn't matter how smart you were. If you was black, you just having a hard time getting employment. Bottom line. When I worked for the fire department, it was in the high desert. There was only three black people in the, no, four black people. Four. Three of us worked at the same department. Okay. Out of all the fire departments, there's so many fire departments in the county. Okay. So this is San Bernardino County. All right. It's in the whole entire high desert. Okay. It consists of these different cities: Apple Valley, Hesperia, uh, um, Victorville, all these cities out there. Okay. Adelanto, where I worked at. Okay. So out of all of those cities, three black firefighters. Okay. We got three shifts. We didn't even work the same shift. We worked on different days. So at least one day out the week, okay, one day you're gonna see, every day of the week you're gonna see one black firefighter, okay, at one station. That was it, okay. Two females, okay. It was the only department that was diverse out there. All right. So yeah, and when I got that job, same thing. Okay. All right. I already was a firefighter. Okay. I went to the fire academy already. They were hiring firefighters. Okay. So, of course, I'm going to do the best on the test. I already went to the fire academy. So, yeah. And I did the best on that test. Okay. So, uh, yeah, it was very tough getting employment. And if it wasn't for the affirmative action, it wouldn't have even been there. Who knows what I would have been doing? Who knows where my career would have taken me? Okay, would have went to paramedic school for nothing. Okay, so yeah, so knowledge, information, the truth. Uh, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. You can also check out OSM Vision. Okay, and they have Wusabat classes on Saturdays. Okay, check out those Wusabat classes because that is not a religion. Okay, it's a way of life. It's the culture. Okay, our true roots, our culture. 76 trillion years of knowledge and information. Dr. Malachi Z.K. York is the master teacher. No one else has 76 trillion years of knowledge and information. No one else on the planet. Okay. I've been searching for years. Okay. I didn't find out about Dr. Malachi Z.K. York until last year. It was last year when I found out about him. Why have the conscious community, so called conscious community, been keeping his name and his works so quiet? No one's talking about it. The only ones that's been talking about it is OSM Vision, okay? Our Souls Matter. That's why they talking about it, because, and that's why they got that name, Our souls matter. OSM Vision. Okay. And there's another dude, Phase One. Okay. I know he's based in Atlanta. But yeah, that brother, young brother too, young brother, sharp, sharp. I think he used to be on the property on in Tamaray West. Okay, so he grew up on the property, so he know the real deal. He grew up with the real teachings. Okay, so that brother is sharp. Okay, sharp, intelligent. Okay, this brother is a genius. Okay, the only brother, look, young brother, sticking with the truth, sticking to what he was taught. Okay, he didn't stray away and start rapping about killing other people and all this kind of stuff. Okay, he's talking about raising your conscious level, being that real guy, that real goddess. Okay, be who you are for real. Be who you are, be who you were meant to be, okay, when you came to this planet as a nine ether being. All right, don't live that six ether lifestyle. Okay, be who you are, be the god and the goddesses that you are. Okay, we need to learn to live in peace and in harmony. Okay, in unity, unite, and quit letting people tell you who you are and separate you, cause so much division. Okay, especially with that religion. Okay, come on. I mean, wake up. All right. People still praying to, got their eyes closed, heads bowed, and praying to some Jesus, some white dude with blonde hair and blue eyes to come flying out of the sky. Okay, wake up. He's not flying out of the sky, and Santa Claus is not going to come down your chimney. Okay, those things are not going to happen. Okay, Santa Claus is not coming. Jesus is not coming. Wake up. Okay. Wake up, people. Okay. You got the truth. When somebody comes to give you the truth, they made it so you hate yourself. Okay. You hate yourself so much. You look in the mirror, you hate yourself, you hate what you see. You would rather worship somebody outside of you, somebody that don't even look like you. Okay. All right. Wusabat is a culture. Wusabat, you can learn your own language. Okay? We got our own language. Don't you want your own? Okay? Why do we have to go following after everybody else's culture? Why can't we stick to our own culture, our own African spirituality? Okay? Which was here first on this planet, and the real spirituality. Okay? All right? So, peace, love, unity. Shook Wadu.